news. We're just hours from this deadline in this Nancy Guthrie case. If you believe there's a deadline, so many twists and turns to this weird abduction slash. A lot of folks believe that Mrs. Guthrie is no longer alive. That this whole thing has been a ruse, either put on by the family or someone else. It's a multifaceted. I don't know if I've ever seen a case like this with so many different plausible leads or plausible, I guess, scenarios that could be the case, but yet none of which have enough evidence to make you stick with them very long. We'll get into the details of that, developments this afternoon. Inevitably, there will be, as the deadline is right at the end of our show. But as of this hour, reporting is that no ransom has been paid, no proof of life has been issued. The people that sent the ransom note are still cryptic. There was activity all weekend. Man, there's lots to get into. A little bit of political news today, too. But before we get cranked up too far, we can start with some frivolity today, being that it was the post-Super Bowl weekend. And, of course, AJ, I'm still on the road. You want to see my I've got a new camera shot for you. Ready? You want to see this? Is AJ even there?
Ready.
Do you work with me still? Is he there?
Yeah, I'm
Check
here.
that out. Check that out. Roof cam.
Oh, sweet.
I kept going, just kept going south after and yes, I do have stories about the cheerleading event. We'll get into those in a minute. But drove all morning and finally got down here and set up at this fine little place by the water. So right before the show, I crawled up there. I said, I got to do something different today. I'll hopefully in the next day or two, I'll find a fun place to hang out. And maybe we can interview some people down here, some snowbirds or whatever. But for now, I was lucky to even get in the spot and get set up as fast as I did. But we got roof cam, buddy, and I can even move that thing around. You want to see?
Yeah, let's see how this thing goes.
All it does is go to a palm tree, and then you see my RV roof. That's the satellite that is transmitting this broadcast right now. I got it on a pole now. How about that? I'm so high tech. The world has changed. There's some campers around me. That's the wire. That's it. Satellite, that little satellite globe. Oh yeah, we got a shot right here. Check this out. Palm tree in the sky.
Nice.
So pretty much I got two shots. I got that shot, and we can move back around. I feel like one of those weather forecasters showing you.
So
here's the weather picture of the day.
So when you go to break, instead of me pull up that little graphic, it says we'll be right back. I may just have to just leave
pull that up. Play all the Jimmy Buffett music you want this week, man. It is nice. It is nice. I was in the RV driving all morning, powering my way down here. Calls coming in. Gary Palmer's going to join us later in the show with an update on some stuff coming in Congress. But yeah, and then I was like, I gotta add a camera to the thing. It can't just be inside the motorhome. But we'll try to have some fun with it a little bit later on the show. So let's start from the beginning. You want to talk about Super Bowl or talk about the psychotic event I went to involving the cheerleader kids? Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, I kind of want to know what happened with the cheerleader stuff, but also
right,
the Super Bowl too.
Let's just be frivolous from the gate. So I go to this national cheerleading competition, and I only had to go to one thing, and that was these little girls trained for months. Okay, and I didn't know any of this existed, and then thousands of people show up at the ESPN Sports Complex. And they compete. They got 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And in our case, I think somebody didn't know how long it was supposed to get. It's a long story. But anyway, so, and then they go out there and they jump around and yell and go team in your colors and all that. And then the next group comes on and it's just one after the other. Hundreds of kids. I don't know what kind of money this tournament makes, but it sucks people's pockets dry from all over the country. We had the first kids I saw come out were from, AJ, they were from Ronald Reagan High School, and they were holding up big Reagan fat heads. I'm not making that up. First team I saw they're out of San Antonio. They're holding up Ronald Reagan. I was like, all right, I can do this. And then I saw some other dads, and I thought, well, I don't seem so awkward. They don't seem to know what they're doing either. And I got to looking around, and then later in the event, I discovered some of the dads. AJ, you've got a daughter, so I'm preparing you, my man. Like one school was the Trojans. About 5 or 6 fathers actually dressed as Trojans. They had the helmets. They had the whole Halloween. It was like cosplay. They were dressing up for their daughters. They wore matching Trojan outfits. So I was like, I feel less than. I've got to step my game up. And I told them that her team is the Eagles, right? So I told them, I said, next time I'm dressing, I'm full on Eagle costume, and I'm going to swoop down off a wire somewhere into the venue These dads are not going to one up me, but anywho, it was crazy. So we get out there, and again, I'm in shock that it was loud. It wasn't as loud as I thought, because the reason they had the venue carved into little different sets, little stages, so they could do multiple performances. So they couldn't turn the music up too loud; it'd bleed over into the other one. So it did not blow my brain out. I thought it was just going to blow my ears out, and I was not going to be able to take it. So it was a lot better than that. But AJ, I'm here to testify that the very first, second set of cheerleaders that came out, they had one little girl, and I'm just going to say she was plus size, and I was pulling for her. I was like, yeah, she's getting out there with the rest of these little skinny bitches. Get out there, girl. Do it. So she was doing the stuff like the rest of them, but I'm going to be honest. Then they lined up, and she kicked the girl in front of her dead in the ass. Like, she did one of those rah-rah kicks, and boom, just almost knocked the poor girl over. Girl turned around and shot her a look, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to like this. This is good. It's like going to NASCAR and praying for a wreck.
Man.
I was like, somebody do something crazy. Somebody throw up. I needed some stories for the radio, but that was about it.
Nah.
It was actually a good event.
Well, the story is that I got out of this is that you said next time you're going to dress up as an eagle
I have to
get
go,
your legal
man.
on.
I'm
And
gonna get my eagle on.
I said, look, this was going to happen. You're going to be one.
I'm in it now. I'm a competitor. I'm not going to be out competed by these guys. Hey, AJ, some of them are dressed up like pimps. Like, but your daughter, why would you be it's a Louisiana thing. You know how the LSU fans will dress like, there was a bunch of pimp dads. I was like, wait a minute. Could we talk? Come over here. Guys, you've lost perspective. You don't need to dress. No, not while your daughter's performing. You don't need to be with the hat and the fur coat.
Yeah.
And even though it was cold and I wish I had a fur coat, there were guys dressed like complete Tiger uniforms, AJ.
Like, well, wait a minute. I thought this was a cheer competition,
No,
not a
dude.
player club convention. Like, what did I miss the memo?
Mainly, I was just thinking to myself, I think these dads are bored out of their mind. They got to find a way to fit in, so they've adopted overdoing it. You know what I mean? As dads would do. It's just what they do. So they completely overdo it. And then I found this out. There is a penalty. I bet you didn't know this. So I'm here to help, AJ, when your daughter gets into this stuff. There's a penalty for something called excessive spirit.
Oh, really? So you can have too much spirit.
What? I thought the point was to be the most spirit, and we got spirit. Yes, we do. But no, if you do excessive spirit, they will deduct points. And so what is the next question? What would be the next question from you?
What is excessive spirit?
The same thing I asked. Glad you asked. Like, one girl got out there and sort of played the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
She did an air guitar. They said, that's too much spirit. That's tacky.
So she's just supposed to.
Are you serious?
So no animating
No.
instruments? Is that makes it
excessive spirit.
Mm.
So I guess you can't flip anybody off either, right? I mean, so I'm learning. But I only had that 1 hour of exposure. I saw her little routine. We were very proud of her. And then I got the hell out of there, and I didn't go back the rest of the weekend. So it's not too bad. You think it's worth dressing in a costume to just go watch 3 minutes?
No. No.
Dude, it was, and there was more drama outside of that, but I'll leave it there. So it was a heck of a weekend. But hey, I live to broaden my cultural experiences, always to do new things, and so that was new. That was brand new. I think Paulette wants to call about this, so we'll get Paulette in here, and then I'm serious. I'm going to move on to some very serious, sober things today. Paulette, what's on your mind, girl?
Hey, Leland, how are you doing? So
I'm well.
My daughter,
Good to hear. Wait a minute.
Well.
Wait a minute. Good to hear from you. Where have you been? We haven't heard from you in forever. Good to hear from you.
Well, next time you're on, you're out and about, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay. All right.
Whenever you go live somewhere. But
Okay.
I was down in Disney this past weekend because my daughter does cheer for Thompson High School.
Oh,
Thompson
okay.
High School showed up and showed out at
Did
the
they?
World event. They won nationals for the Spirit, which is band, dance, and cheer together. So they were national champs on that. Their pep band repeated as national champs. My daughter's cheer group placed third in the nation. Their dance teams placed second. So, yeah, Thompson High School showed up and showed out. But, yes, I can completely I agree with you that those dads, I mean, they have on overalls, they have on everything,
I
they go
know.
all out. I saw some Trojans, some guys dressed up as Trojans, or it's wild. Cheer is wild. Now, my daughter did competitive gymnastics for
Yep.
many years, and she's just done cheer the last 2 since she's been in high school. So, yes,
Well,
it is a mess.
I felt lame, but then I also realized I know dads, having gone through teenagers before, and they could be just doing it to embarrass the girls, right? Sometimes as a parent, when they're teenagers, you live to embarrass them. So that may be part of it too. But yeah, I was surprised. I was really surprised. And I wish I'd known you were down there. Also, apparently Hewitt Trustful blew it out.
Yes.
There's a team from Daphne. I didn't know that Alabama beat people in the nation in cheerleading like they do at those levels, but it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was impressive. The Thompson Pep Band, the whole spirit is, it's new where they each have their own category, but they also do a combined.
Yeah.
And they blew it out of the water. And their pep
All right.
band blew it out of the water. And our cheer girls, that was the highest they've ever placed. So, yeah,
Congratulations.
Alabama showed up and showed out on many levels for super varsity. So,
All right.
Yep.
Well, good to hear from you, Paulette. Come see us sometime, okay?
I will. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, there's Paulette tonight. AJ, any more questions? Actually, I know one of your questions. I knew you were going to ask this, so I made notes. You were going to ask me if there were any dude cheerleaders.
I kind of figured there were going to be some dude cheerleaders.
Well, I didn't know on that level that guys, you always see them in college, and when they show up in the NFL, we all freak out. But yeah, there were some guys at that level on the high school level. And they were big old strong dudes. I guess you got to be to throw those girls around. And think about what they get to do at practice for months. I mean, I didn't get that close to a girl in high school. No, I didn't. I was like, they know what they're doing. We're already getting our brains knocked out playing all the athletics while these guys are throwing girls around in the air. Good for them.
See,
Anyway,
they were smart.
That's the recap. Super Bowl, did you watch it? Anything?
I did watch the game. It was it was pretty interesting. It was mainly field goals, but
yeah.
I mean, it was a game, and it was just a good time. I was just there for the food that I didn't have to cook, so I was good with that.
Y'all had an event.
Yes.
I watched some of the pregame, a lot of the pregame. Watched the opening, probably first quarter and a half, and then I dipped. I was just not bored with it, but I was kind of sleepy. It had been a long day, and I wasn't into either of the teams, and I did not care about Bad Bunny. So, Bad Bunny, did you watch that? I didn't see it. I haven't even seen a replay of it because I've been driving all day.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I was watching both at the same time. The Talking Point, and, not Talking Point, Turning Point.
Yeah,
and Bad Bunny. I was watching both of them at the same time.
Well, apparently 10 million people watched the Turning Point thing live, which doesn't compare to size of a Super Bowl audience, but it was massive. Somebody today is reporting that it was the second biggest live concert ever on the internet. I don't know what the first was. 25 million went on to watch it later on social media, so it got a lot of views. And the Bad Bunny thing, I didn't watch it, still don't know, but I do I do have this. So it was what people said it would be. He was running around singing in Spanish, and most people didn't know what he was singing. And apparently it was very vulgar when you translate the lyrics, but most people that know English had no idea, which made me wonder. I mean, we get SEC fines. Any NBC affiliate, depending on the vulgarity, would get massive fines if it were in English. So why do they get away with it in Spanish? Questions. Then there's this lady who I wish was my grandmother. Somebody recorded. She's all over the internet. Somebody recorded her reacting to Bad Bunny.
I'm like, who is this man? Golly. He can't sing. I mean, like, what is this? Golly.
She's probably 90 years old. I want her to be my grandmother.
And got the American flag and all these other flags. And yeah, God bless you too. Get off the stage. Please get off the stage.
She goes on for like 3 minutes. She was not a fan of Bad Bunny. So anyway, but nonetheless, if you're a performer and you get to do that show, I guess, it's always going to be comparing them to the previous shows. But so there was that. But I didn't get to see the whole game, but I heard the Seahawks won, so good. So there's that. All right, on with the countdown. We'll continue 545-9950 if y'all want to get in on the show. Douglas Cooling and Heating bringing you the show tonight. Y'all know about them if you've listened for any amount of time. This is my heating and air company. And I know with this warm-up, it might get our attention a little bit on spring. We're still flipping those systems from one side to the other. We're still going to need plenty of heat before spring officially gets here. But go ahead and consider getting on their tune-up list. And if you need to get that spring tune-up, and we all do, go ahead and do it with the good folks over at Douglas. They've taken care of me for 16 years, and they handle all of it. The replacements, they'll be adding a unit for me this year with a project I've got going, and I look forward to them doing it because I know it'll be done right. They've helped me with emergency work, second opinions, all of the things. And so if you need them for any of those, particularly the service work, get on their list and get in the Douglas they've got this thing called the Douglas Care Package where they'll come out twice a year and take care of your stuff. Let them take care of your stuff, and then it's on autopilot. And I mean, that's a big investment on your home. Make it run right. It's calldouglas.com, C-A-L-L, calldouglas.com. We'll take a quick break. Come on back here. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. All right, y'all, get back in here. Leland Live, Talk 99.5 from the tropical region of the Florida Keys. Details on that later. Hey, Jay, could you tell there was an RV out there like floating on the water? It's not really. I'll explain what that guy's doing later, trying to kind of trip me out. I was like, that's where the rich folks park. Anyway. All right, Southern Skies Dermatology, by the way, speaking of sunshine, we'll all be back out in it before you know it. I'm here to tell you, I won't get a tan the next few days, but I will soak it up as much as possible. And we'll all be doing that. We got to do the smart things, use the sunscreen, wear the hats, the long sleeve shirts, and just not overdo it when we start having fun. But one of the basic things to do in that mix is to also just go get a skin cancer screening. Just go get the basic screening offered from the good folks over at Southern Skies. This is all they do. They find and remove skin cancer day in and day out. And I do appreciate how many lives they've saved in our audience alone. It is pretty amazing the people that have reached out over the years, because they've been with us for years, saying, I would not have gone without your daily updates and sort of nudging. And I finally decided to put it on my list. And sure enough, I remember I've told this story over and over, but last time I was in there, and I've got an appointment coming up here in a couple of weeks. There's a guy named Mike, one of our listeners. He was in the lobby. In fact, 3 of the 4 listeners in the lobby were 4 people in the lobby were listeners of the show. And Mike came up and thanked me. He said they found one on my ankle. He said, I noticed this thing that came up, but I never in a million years thought it would be melanoma. And it can be deadly, and it can spread quickly, more quickly than you realize. So don't waste any time. Get it on your list of things to do, especially if you have an area that's of concern. And get checked up and feel good knowing you're taking care of yourself at Southern Skies Dermatology. They've got a new location opening up. As soon as they let me know, I'll let you know. They want to make sure they get the everything ready to open completely up before we give out the location. But y'all, it'll be much more convenient for folks on my side of town anyway. So Southern Skies Dermatology, y'all go see Dr. Morrow and do those screenings, or urge somebody in your life that you're concerned about. Just push on them and make them make that appointment. You'll feel better about it when they do. SouthernSkiesDermatology.com. SouthernSkiesDermatology.com. All right, one other thing before we get into the seriousness of the Guthrie case, because that keeps coming and going in the news, and we've got other regular headlines too in the world of politics. But the Olympics, I was not really tuned into it. I haven't really watched an event yet. I'll try to do it. I'm fascinated with how Italy handles things, having traveled there quite a bit, and in that very area where they're doing all the downhill stuff. It's I think it's probably the most gorgeous small town I've ever seen in my life. A little town called Cortina. It's just completely surrounded by mountains. Usually, if you go out to the American West, you'll be in a town and the mountains are either off to the east or off to the west or to the north. But you're surrounded by these peaks, 365 degrees in this town. So I can't imagine what it looks like in the winter, and the hype was already starting there. They had a big countdown clock downtown for the Olympics, and so I think it's cool. I saw people trying to make issue with some of the opening ceremonies, but for the most part, it looked like pretty good reviews, that it was very well done and classy, much more classy than what the French did to offend all the Christians the last time. The Lindsey Vonn story continues to be just, wow, that girl, 41 years old, terrible knees, does it anyway, crashes. She's got a broken leg on one side, torn ACL on the other side. What a tough young lady. But sad for her. But the American wound up winning the gold in that. And so off we go with all the competition. And yes, I saw the controversies from apparently the men's downhill. I lose track of all the events because winter sports are not something we do a hell of a lot of in Alabama. But man, these guys that hate on the country, they're sitting there with the patch on their arm, dressed in red, white, and blue, representing their nations. I mean, national pride is what the Olympics have always been about. No matter where you're from, you generally stand for your nation and do so honorably. And we've got a proud history of that. Even in tough times, you look at Jesse Owens. You couldn't be more discriminated against than the period of time that a black man lived in this country. But he went and showed the world something. He spoke with his incredible running, and he showed up to Hitler's face and made an incredible statement to the world. But now we just got bitterness coming from people about our country. And if anybody had a right to bitch, it was him. And he wasn't, I'm not saying he was perfectly patriotic, but the guy was a winner of class, and that kind of dignity should go with the honor of representing a country. And I do wish there was some mechanism, if these kids get over there and mouth off, that they just pull them from the event. You know, the nation, I believe the host nation ought to have the right to pull their sponsorship, so to speak, of that person on the team. Just don't compete in the event. Then to let these people continue to have a platform and a stage to be the Dixie Chicks overseas. If you remember how that went, they were overseas when they made their comments that ruined their careers, and they never made a comeback from it. Sometimes people do, but this isn't a Super Bowl halftime show. This is actually an event where country competes with country. And I forget the little frat boy douchebag's name on the team, the Hunter somebody. I hope he slides off the side of the hill. And I'm not saying this is my original thought. I saw somebody say this, and I thought it was the best way to respond. He said, "I'm pulling for the mountain." I was like, "Yeah, that's good." So but anyway, there's always going to be that. But then you had other Olympic champions just when they're on the medal stand, you know, they cry at the national anthem, and you can see the pride in themselves and their family and their teammates and their country on their faces. And there's a whole lot more before you boycott over that jerk off. There's a whole lot more patriotism than not, it seems. And so off they go with the Olympics. The latest on the Guthrie case, more of your phone calls and anything else y'all want to do, as we are live here in, somebody asked me, what key are you in? We're in Key Largo. It's the closest one without driving. But it's so pretty down here. Back in a minute, Lead on Live. Y'all stay tuned. All right, y'all, Leading Live, Tony 995. Here we go again. All American Metals bringing you the show tonight. If you've got a steel building project or any kind of building project this year, All American is the company to take care of whatever you've got to do, whether it's just I guess the most simple project they would do would be a very small metal building or a shed. And they've done a few of those from the audience all the way up to the big giant commercial buildings, big, huge warehouse space, or maybe you just got a hobby. You're a hobbyist and you want to, I know some guys that got together and built out a building like just so they could share space and work on their cars and share tools. And sometimes you got people that'll do all kind of creative things. They can handle those projects for you, whether it's commercial or residential, barndominiums, pole barns. Like I have a pole barn structure, and I'm telling you the durability of metal, the speed with which it goes up, and the beauty of it. You can actually style it. They've got so many color options and I guess bend pattern options that they produce themselves. They can make that building exactly like you want it. Doors where you want them, access where you want it, windows where you want it, whatever you need. It's All American Metals. It starts with a good design, and they're there to help with that too. Some companies that offer metal buildings, you'll see ads for them, and they've got like some package deal. There's a lot that's not included in that price. There's stuff that you need to know about. So reach out to All American Metals. You're going to find they're less expensive. You get the customization. You get quicker turnaround because they're good local folks. And because they source the whole thing themselves, they are the supplier, they are the manufacturer of the components. You'll have everything you need in one shipment, and they're right here with you to make sure that building comes up the way you want to. They can even help you get help with a contractor or one of their folks to get that building built. By the way, if you are a contractor, get on in contact with them and let them be your supplier. You'll find that they always have things on the shelf in case something goes missing or a part gets broken or something goes wrong. It's All American Metals. Two great families, total patriots, been doing this stuff since the 60s. Over in the Bessemer, Hueytown area, aa-metal.com, aa-metal.com. All right, let's get cranked up with some more serious stuff this hour as we sort of await developments. First up, we're facing another government shutdown over the Homeland Security funding. The Democrats are still trying to play the tough guy act. They don't have a whole lot of power here. But they're trying to leverage a partial shutdown of those parts of the government in 5 days. I'm so exhausted with this I call it the Washington two-step. You've heard that before, where they do this little phony dance and then eventually things get straight. So I'll let you know about any developments on those things as we roll along here through the week as well. But that's just, again, manufactured drama from Congress. As they get back into session, reminder that my congressperson, if you're in the 6th District, Gary Palmer, will be on with us in the 5 o'clock hour. We touched base over the weekend over the upcoming hearings over the Epstein files, particularly with the Clintons. He'll be in on those hearings. And while he doesn't want to telegraph his questions, and I don't blame him, he does want to come on and talk to us about a few things. So we'll talk to him in the 5 o'clock hour. Back to the Guthrie case, I remain enamored with what's going on, as a lot of people do, and almost frustrated and a little bit, I don't want to say bored, but it's like, I'll say this. Let me retract something I said last week. I no longer trust that sheriff. When he first came out, he seemed earnest and sincere. He seemed measured. And sometimes I look for that. I don't look for bombast in a leader. I look for somebody that's, you can tell when they're holding their cards. And I thought he was just being reserved. And so I was complimentary of him last week. And that's until the FBI had to take over the case. The way they released the crime scene and let it get trampled, there's even an element of that in the news today. The things they missed initially, and then the fact that he shows up at a college basketball game is one of the two, Arizona State, whichever one's doing well in college basketball, in the middle of his whole world being under maximum scrutiny over this case. This guy takes some time off to go to a ball game. That just showed a complete lack of judgment. And he admitted that. He admitted some missteps. The lead on this for today, though, is the FBI has taken over the case. That's a good sign. They've got better expertise. There had to be a reason for them to be able to do that. Initially, it didn't seem there was any federal law here to apply, but I believe it's these threats that could somehow be stretched into wire fraud charges. That is a common way for the feds to be able to interject into a case. So we'll be watching any developments. As we talked about earlier, the deadline is supposed to be at around 6 o'clock tonight. and that is 6 o'clock our time, which would be 5 o'clock out there in Utah. And so we'll be watching that as we roll through things tonight too, see if there's any updates. Now, as for what happened, that remains maximally confusing. We've got a situation where we now have the family being focused on a little bit more after the weekend. They were digging around in a sewer tank with a pole. They have apparently sealed off her son-in-law's house. I guess he's married to Savannah Guthrie's sister. They were inside that home this weekend taking photographs. It was a night search, so you could see the flashes going off from the cameras. And hold on, AJ, I'm going to go to this wide shot real quick and allow some traffic through my through my motorhome. This is a group effort here on the road. All right, here we go, back to the camera shot. But yeah, they searched the family, and so immediately, you know how the internet sleuths all pile on the next greatest lead. And what I think is foolish here is when there's a new development, people will completely change their theories and just go with that development as if there's no other evidence. And so I say that by saying there's so much that's contradictory, i.e. the third family statement that came out this weekend, the one where they said they would pay. I think that was toward the end of our show Friday. There's been so much reporting on this that it's gotten completely confusing. But it's one of those situations where in that statement, it sounded like they were talking about a woman that was dead. And a lot of people picked up on that. They were speaking of her as if they wanted to recover her remains and celebrate her life. They were even using those terms. And as of this hour, there's been no ransom payment, even though they said they would pay. And now, folks, that the family theory is prevailing. You've got a lot of people that are believing that the whole shakedown over the crypto ransom and going to TMZ and the media and all that is phony. So is that a cover-up, or is it somebody else? And that's where things remain confusing. Is if the family was involved, did they stage a phony kidnapping? What does Savannah Guthrie know about this? Not much is being said about that in the news because she's sort of she's still a very sympathetic person. This is her mom. So either she is naive to her family's involvement and just can't trust that, or she's onto it and she's playing along with the authorities until they develop the case they need, or she's in on it. And I just can't believe she would be in on this stuff and embarrass herself in front of the country this way and be willing to put up crypto to some anonymous account that $6 million, they say the amount is, that may never be seen again. Now, I'm looking here on my screen, on my live screen, AJ, I'm seeing, you may be seeing the same thing. There's a new video by Savannah Guthrie. And I don't know if I don't know if her brother and her sister are in this video or if it's just Savannah Guthrie. So if we get audio of that, we'll turn that around for you too. But with every development, it seems to contradict other things. So I'll just walk you through that thought process. At first, we've got a missing person. And then we have a ransom note. And then we don't know if the ransom note's legit. But then the authorities all week last week were allowing the family to play out in front of the media as if the information in the ransom note had enough validity that it could be a legitimate ransom request. And that was based on apparently knowledge of the inside of the home. But think about it. A family member would know about the inside of the home. I think we went over that possibility last week too. So was it an external ransom request? Is the family just being scrutinized because you have to do that? Anytime there's a death, for the most part, a lot of detectives understand this too. When say a spouse dies in another situation, the first thing you've got to clear is that it's not a domestic situation. So the first person they ask about are the alibi and the whereabouts of the spouse, for the most part, in a lot of these cases. It doesn't mean everybody's a suspect, but you've got to clear things. Everybody is a suspect until they're not. So that could be some of this due diligence that was done in the septic tank, in the sewer system. All of these things that happened over the weekend could be in that line. And then internet people and Fox News, I think, caught some images of them searching the family's house. When I say the family, I mean Savannah Guthrie's sister and her husband, Tommaso. And by the way, we haven't seen anything of him. And I don't know what that means. It's been her brother and her sister, more immediate family. So, man, look, there's been a lot of fingers pointed in a lot of directions. I do get the sense, though, that the feds, now that they're in on it, I think they're closer to making a charge in this thing, and it may come sooner rather than later. I just have a feeling on that. I believe if they're letting the ransom scenario pay out, they've got to spend the time to deconstruct all the crypto demands, even the way those demands were transmitted. So put it this way, it'd be one thing if there were anonymous sender, say one of the theories was a drug cartel or that this was international because the person in the ransom demand used USD. Y'all know what I mean? Which stands for US dollars. And only people in other currencies will say that. If you travel internationally, they always ask you USD or the local currency. But here in America, we really don't speak that way. And some people picked up on that could make it an international case. But we don't know that somebody in the family is not connected that way, or that was an attempt to deflect. If the person, the other questions I have is if for somebody to come up with an elaborate cover like this, that is to knock out the floodlights, evade the cameras, destroy any evidence that might exist with the cameras, construct this ransom request, put it on a crypto account that already exists, and to be able to think that through that much to string the authorities along this, it doesn't feel like a typical crime of passion in a family that's gone awry. But who knows? I mean, I have lost all, what would be the right word? I've lost all sort of any kind of compass on where this thing may be going. So I see the video now, and AJ, what I'll do is we'll take the break, and I'll see if I can find this. If you see it, let me know, and we'll try to run it. It's probably going to be short. They've only done these in very short spurts, but apparently it's just Guthrie alone on the camera, and with the subtitles on my screen, she's telling the audience that she's speaking to, we believe our mom is still out there. I don't know if that means she believes that she's alive or dead, but clearly, wow, how dramatic. So we'll go with this development. We'll go ahead and take the break and then bring that in. 545-9950 if you have thoughts on this case or any of the other new stuff tonight. Lead on Live, Talk 99.5, live from the Florida Keys. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all get back in here. Alabama Bass bringing you the show tonight. Man, my friend Jeff reached out to me just as I was setting up today and said, hey, man, I hate to bother you right before the show, but I'm going to call in Alabama Bass. He wanted to get that website again, so I sent it right to him. He's got a project, too. Sometimes you just wind up with a project. They'll absolutely handle it at Alabama Bass. Everything from a full-fledged, you want to tear the whole bathroom out and make it beautiful again with cabinetry and reposition things, just rearrange things. They absolutely do those projects. But one of the things, the quick fix that we focus on a lot is swapping out that old nasty tub with a newer fresh tub, or getting rid of the tub altogether and putting a stand-up system in place. People find that at certain stages of life a lot more convenient, especially with the slip-proof surfaces and the modern plumbing that's a little more ergonomic, the handles, the shelving, the fold-down seats if you need them, all those things that keep you safe in there. The bathroom can be a very dangerous place, and so Mike and his crew will absolutely help you take care of that at Alabama Bass. If you do the shower swap out or the tub project, it's a 2-day deal. They first come and measure. They'll give you a fair price, no pressure whatsoever. They're not going to do those high-pressure tactics. I hate those. I wouldn't have them on the show if they did stuff like that. There's a lot of companies that do. They're not corporate schmucks chasing dollars. These are your neighbors that are proud of what they do, and they'll come and get that bathroom done right. It's alabamabass.com. Y'all reach out to them online. Phone number's right there. Talk to Mike or Jill or John or whoever answers the phone. They're all good folks. 2 generations, alabamabass.com, alabamabass.com. All right, so as we continue on here, Savannah Guthrie, the breaking news in that case is that there's a new video with her speaking to, I guess, either the public or the captors. What was of note this weekend was they didn't seem to be speaking to the mom. They were talking more directly to the captors. In the first video, they were making sure their mother could hear their voice. This is so heartbreaking and bizarre at the same time. It's hard to even gauge your feelings on it after 9 days. So here's the newest video, Savannah Guthrie asking people to continue to report tips and keeping hope alive that they're going to be able to solve this case, or perhaps her mother is alive. AJ, how long is this? I don't think I heard you tell me how long it was.
It's kind of hard to tell when it's on Facebook.
That's okay.
On Instagram.
We got 8 minutes. It can't be that long. Just go ahead and let that sucker roll.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers, and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
That's pretty remarkable. People are going to hyperanalyze that, but I'll just give you my first thoughts on it. One, she did it this time without her siblings. And as you well know from this weekend, her siblings have been the ones that seem to be in the crosshairs. It was, I think her name is Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister. It was her house where she lives with her husband, Tommaso, where their house has been sealed. The authorities were in there this weekend retracing steps. And so Savannah comes out without them this time. Maybe it is because of the increased scrutiny over her siblings, but she comes out on her own, but continuing to ask for tips as if the case is cold. And I can't imagine that the authorities aren't sharing more with her than us. They have to be. And they have no real obligation to do that if the family are suspects. They don't have to tell them anything. But at the same time, especially her being a television reporter who's no doubt been involved in covering cases like this, and the sort of traditional questions to ask, you kind of have a sense of how investigations go. If you've ever been on a police beat or understood how much authorities can say and how much they can tell you off the record. Uniquely so, Savannah Guthrie would understand off the record or on background type conversations so that she can have a scope of where they are. Now, it could be multiple things. This could be, again, we're starting a lot of sentences with could, using the word could. I'm thinking that if she also suspects it's a family-centered situation where somebody has staged this whole thing, then she may be playing along with the authorities and continuing to post these videos while the authorities develop a case. That's not unheard of, that they'll have a suspect, but you don't want to name the suspect yet. Sometimes there are different ways authorities have done this, and I've been part of knowing that authorities are leaking a suspect name to get the suspect to make a move. Sometimes the suspect will start to panic. They're underground, and then you put the name out there and they move, and then you find them when they move. But we don't see authorities doing that in this case. Again, I caution you that all the scrutiny over the family could be unwarranted in that they've got to vet all this stuff first. What we do know is the original vetting of the crime scene, the original crime scene, and there more likely are multiples of crime scenes here. They didn't do a good job. They didn't clearly see a solar camera that was up on top of one of the structures, the roof. In that part of Arizona, they tend to paint their roofs white. It reflects the sun. It helps on the heating of the home and to reflect that light back. And so to get that work done, someone in her neighborhood noticed on an aerial during some of the coverage that Miss Nancy Guthrie's roof seemed to be freshly painted. And that was a clue that led them to a company that did the work, which led them to later discovering this camera that had a solar powered connection to it, which is a little odd, I guess. Maybe not so if you're out west. Solar power is, kind of a thing to do, but it was not connected to any power supply at the home. Some of you have hunting cameras and other cameras that work that way. It's just when you don't have the option of electricity. So there was that clue. Then there was another story that popped out this afternoon, and I'm still trying to figure out what to make of it. And that is, there was a necklace that can be seen in one of the pictures of Mrs. Guthrie. It's a blue some kind of blue gem. Maybe looks like it's surrounded with diamonds. I don't know if it's legit or costume or any of those things. But that necklace was apparently discovered 500 meters from the home in some way. But then the twist was, after someone found it and reported that they found it, by the time the authorities got to where the necklace was gone. So how did that happen? And who found it, and what did they do? Take a picture and send it in? I don't know. I don't have the details on that. So with every update, it continues to be a little more baffling. But if I've got any sense of this case, any kind of gut whatsoever, I'm telling you, I think they're closing in. It's been long enough now. Some of the ends, especially this deadline and this ransom scenario, which is starting to really feel fake. It feels like a giant decoy effort, which has worked so far because it did take tremendous resources for people to try to figure out if this was going on. You've got the media distracted with all this stuff too. All of that is eventually going to point to somebody with the digital technology. I'm finding out more now about the ability of the government to trace our digital trail and our digital footprints than I ever knew about. There's something that your own home cameras collect when they're recording. It's called hidden data, hidden information, some people call it. It's just when the camera recognizes something but then decides on its own that it's not worth reporting, but it still records that it might have seen something in its data stream. How about that? So the feds are going through that. Even if there's not a recording of an incident, they might have had a timestamp on something happening from the camera's judgment. Isn't that weird? Okay, top of the hour, back here in a minute. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Y'all stay tuned.